You're standing next to someone 40,000 years ago, closer than you'd stand next to a stranger today. And the first thing you notice isn't their clothes or their tools or the fact that they're staring at you like you just fell out of the sky. It's the smell. Not unwashed camper smell. Something else. Something your modern nose has never actually encountered because it doesn't exist anymore. Not in this form. Not on this planet. This is the story of what our ancestors actually smelled like and why the answer might genuinely surprise you. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. Humans have spent the last few hundred years engineering smell almost completely out of existence. Soap, deodorant, detergent, air conditioning, indoor plumbing, all of it exists to erase a version of human that used to be the only version there was. And what's underneath that erasure is stranger, more complex, and honestly a lot less disgusting than you'd think. Let's start with the obvious question. Did they stink? By modern standards? Almost certainly, yes. No soap, no regular bathing in the way we understand it, months of accumulated sweat, smoke, and animal fat. But stink is a modern judgment, and modern judgments don't survive contact with anthropology very well. Here's what actually happened. Ancient humans lived in near constant proximity to wood smoke, cooking fires, warming fires, fires that never really went out. Smoke doesn't just sit on top of skin. It works its way into hair, into fabric, into the oils your skin produces. Bodies that lived next to fire for years would have carried a permanent low note of smoke, the same way a smoker's jacket still smells like the bar 3 washes later. Except this wasn't a bar. This was every single day for their entire life. Then there's the animal fat. Across dozens of hunter-gatherer societies still studied today, and inferred from archaeological residue in much older ones, rendered animal fat was rubbed on skin. Not for hygiene, for survival. It waterproofed skin against cold, protected against sunburn, and repelled insects far more effectively than anything humans wear now. That means the base layer of ancient human smell wasn't unwashed person. It was smoke, rendered fat, and whatever plant matter got crushed into that fat for scent or medicine, because yes, they were doing that too. This is where it gets interesting, because ancient humans weren't passively stinking. They were actively perfuming themselves. Archaeologists have found evidence of ochre, a reddish mineral pigment, mixed with fat and used on skin going back over 100,000 years. Some researchers believe this wasn't just decorative. Certain ochre sources have a faint mineral, almost metallic scent, and residue analysis on grinding stones from sites in South Africa shows crushed aromatic plants being mixed in alongside it. In other words, ancient humans may have been making the first perfume before they were fully modern humans. And that tracks with something anthropologists keep circling back to, scent as identity. In small hunter-gatherer bands, individual body scent wasn't something to hide. It was information. Which plants you'd been near, which animal you'd butchered, which fire you'd sat by. Your smell told the rest of your group where you'd been and what you'd been doing, in a world with no other way to broadcast that information. Losing your scent through injury, illness, or unfamiliar plants could genuinely make your own group treat you differently. Now let's talk about the smell that might be the strangest of all, the smell of the world itself. Because it's not just that ancient humans smelled different. The air they breathed smelled different, radically different from anything you've experienced. No exhaust, no plastic off-gassing, no industrial anything. Instead, an atmosphere saturated with the actual, unfiltered scent of megafauna. Mammoth, giant sloth, herds of animals in numbers that don't exist on Earth anymore. Petrichor after rain hitting soil that had never been paved. Rot in forests where nothing was cleared or managed, doing exactly what unmanaged decomposition does at scale. Modern humans have never smelled the world ancient humans smelled, because the world that produced that smell doesn't exist anymore either. There's also a medical angle here that almost nobody talks about. Ancient physicians, and probably ancient healers long before written medicine, used smell diagnostically. Certain diseases produce distinctive body odors, the sweetish smell of some metabolic conditions, the specific scent changes tied to infection. In a world without lab tests, smell was one of the only diagnostic tools available, which means ancient humans weren't just smelling each other out of unavoidable proximity. They were, in a very real sense, reading each other's health through scent, whether they had a word for it or not. So what did ancient humans actually smell like? Not one thing, layers. With smoke worked into skin and hair over a lifetime. Rendered animal fat, sometimes plain, sometimes mixed with crushed aromatic plants that functioned as the first perfume humans ever made. Ochre, faintly mineral, applied for reasons we're still only partly sure of. And underneath all of it, an environment saturated with a version of nature that has since gone extinct alongside the megafauna that produced it. Probably wasn't pleasant by modern standards. But it wasn't random either. It was information. It was protection. It was, in its own way, technology just built out of fat, smoke, and crushed plants instead of chemistry and packaging. So next time you put on deodorant or catch a whiff of a campfire and feel something oddly nostalgic about it, or smell rain on hot pavement and can't quite explain why it feels ancient, you're catching the faintest, thinnest echo of something that used to be constant. A world and a version of being human that smelled like nothing you'll ever smell again.